Alrighty, here we go. Welcome in. I told Amy I don't really want to do this because I'm uncomfortable with this in general, but I feel like this needs to be said, and then I would like to move on from it. That is my thought process. So, in case you were unaware, I went. I think I could actually say it's viral, not
I
just
think you
viral
can
by
say
my
it.
standard.
Yeah.
I initially said I went viral by my standards. Um, but it's now 2 weeks ago. It was 2 weeks ago today that I posted it. And I want to talk about fitness lessons that I've learned as a result of it, or lessons that I've learned that can be applied to nutrition and fitness. We'll say that. That are maybe I learned or was reminded of, or a few different things, and also my experience of it. And I did a shorter post on this the Monday after because, but obviously it has exploded even since then. So I mean, as we sit here recording this, let me look. I haven't looked in several days because I've mentally tried to like detach myself from this, and I'll talk
It's
about
hard
that.
to do.
Mentally detach myself from it.
Yeah.
Like I've had to, like emotionally, like I was. So this is, we'll talk about it in a second. But as we sit here recording, it's at 3.9 million views on Instagram.
That's double
Another,
what it was last time I saw it.
yeah. When I recorded that on Monday, it was at like 600. And I posted it on TikTok, and so it's a million views on TikTok. So 5 million, and then it got picked up by Newsweek, which is just silly. It's just
I want to
silly.
hear more about all of it.
So I'm gonna explain the process of it, or kind of what happened, and then also kind of where I've kind of been at with it. So if you didn't see, it was a post that I did that was a little bit of a rant about when I go out in public, and this is not a new thing. This has been happening for the entire time that I've been a dad, particularly a dad with 3 kids. But anytime I go out in public with more than one of them, people look at me like I discovered fire. Like I am God's gift to parenting. And I get a lot of people kind of going out of their way to make comments on what a great dad, like good for you for babysitting for mom today, like giving mom a break, like all of that kind of stuff. I literally, on the day that I recorded this, somebody said, "Wow, you're a superhero." And again, I think it's meant in a positive sense,
It
right?
is, and they think they're
The,
being very nice by
yeah,
saying it.
the intention is positive,
Mm-hmm.
100%. I'm not upset that people are saying it. I don't even really mind. Like people are like, "Oh, mind your own business." I think there's a small part of my brain with the topic of this. So again, I'll talk about the topic of this briefly because literally I got interviewed for Newsweek about this, so I had to spend time thinking about this. They were like, "What do you think about gender roles in parenting?" And I was like, and I said back to the woman, I was like, I want to be abundantly clear when she said, so I'll talk about this experience with Newsweek and then we'll talk about it. So I got a DM from the family and parenting editor for Newsweek. And I was like,
It's a trip.
that's not real, because she just looks like a normal person on Instagram. Like she's just a normal, mom, whatever. And I was like, this isn't the real thing. I was like, that's not real. But I like Googled it and I'm like, oh, that's actually her. Like that's her byline. She is actually. And she was like, hey, can I have your permission to use this? And I was like, what do you? And she's like, I'll send you some questions. I was like, send me the questions. And she sent me the questions. And I said back to her before I gave her permission for it, I was like, I want to be abundantly clear. I have no credibility, credentials at all to be talking about any of this. I have no, this will be entirely my opinion. from my own experience. And so I want to make abundantly clear that I am not a parenting expert. I am a long way away from a parenting expert. I'm a fitness and nutrition expert. I will say that, and I won't feel arrogant about it.
Nope,
but I am not a parenting expert. And she was like, that's fine. And so I gave my thoughts on it, though. And as I was writing out my answers to this, which took me way longer than I would have liked, but it was just like to think through things that I hadn't maybe articulated before. I said that there's a part of me that feels a little bit bummed that so little is expected of me.
Yeah.
I think that's the only part of me that's there. And that's what sparked the rant, which was like, dads do better, was what I kind of ended it with, which was basically the idea that whether or not people should go out of their way to make comments about this or not, the reason why they are, in my opinion, is because it surprises them. And it surprises them because they don't often see it. If it was commonly seen, it wouldn't be as surprising. And so all that I'm asking, because I recognize that I hold a different role in my household than the average dad does. I've said it before that for this season of our lives, I have been primary caregiver to my kids. That doesn't mean that my wife and I are not teammates, that she's not incredibly involved, and we both are. We're teammates in this. But in terms of like the quote unquote default parent, the one who kind of catches more of the stuff because of the flexible schedule that I have, I tend to do more of it. Over the summertime, my wife catches more of the stuff, / we do things more. And that's going to shift this summer and this fall to my wife because she's leaving teaching and she's doing photography and she wanted to do that so that I can work a little bit more. And so the roles are going to shift. So I recognize that on a random Wednesday, not a lot of dads are bringing their kids to the grocery store and the bank.
Right.
I get that. Totally understand. However, when I do bring my kids to a birthday party or the park or something like that, it is me among a sea of moms oftentimes. And again, everybody has, I think there are different roles and different responsibilities within the household, and everybody has different ones. But I do think, and I think that you would, if you spent any sort of time in the comments section of that post, which I would not necessarily recommend because it has gone off the rails, which we'll talk about in a little bit.
It tends to.
And that's why things go viral, is people start arguing with each other in the comments. You know what I mean? But I think that it is the experience of a lot of people that there are some dads who tend to abdicate responsibility. And I'll say this just from, I've shared, I coach other coaches on their businesses. And one of the things that I do on occasion for those coaches is when they have a call with a potential client that they're talking to that potential client, I will review that call to see what happened. And just yesterday, I was listening to a call from one of the coaches that I help out with a potential client of hers. This is a mom who's got it's like a 14-year-old and twin 12-year-olds or something like that. Similar time,
Similar to you. Yeah.
Similar to us. And she was talking about how she's just feeling overwhelmed and she doesn't have a lot of time in her day for herself and all of these things. And she was saying her husband is super supportive and he helps out a lot. But she works. She works full-time. He works full-time and he helps out. And to me, that was, I think that's the indicator of where we are. It was it would be one thing, right? If it was like, if you're a stay-at-home mom and that's your main job and it's a super important job and it's your thing where it's like, my job is to manage the household and the kids and your job is to go do this. you're still dad. You come home and I'm mom and we do things together, but like I'm in charge of running the house. They're both working.
Mm-hmm.
Dude doesn't help out. I'm not helping my wife out when I watch the kids. I am being their dad.
Mm-hmm.
And when she's watching the kids so I can do something, she's not helping me out
Right.
because I'm primary caregiver right now. She's not doing me a solid when
Mm-hmm.
she takes a sick day to watch the kids. It's what we needed to do in the moment. And that was the
Mm-hmm.
decision that we made together. And so I have a hard time with, and I get a hard time with this too. Like I get, like literally this past week, early part of this week, Monday, Tuesday, there was a conference that I actually really wanted to go to, and I'm like, I had FOMO that I wasn't there. Like a lot of my friends in the industry were there. It was a friend of mine in the industry put it on, and I've been wanting to go for years to support him. I think the topics that were discussed were valuable, but it's obviously more about the network, and like that's about as consolidated of like a group of the people that I know in the industry as I will find anywhere were the
Mm-hmm.
people that were at this. Like it was the overlap of a ton of different relationships that I have were there, and I was bummed that I couldn't do it. But it was on a Monday and Tuesday in Vegas.
That's a challenge.
It means I have to leave on Sunday,
Yep.
and I don't get
Get
back.
back
Like
Wednesday.
I get back Wednesday, even if I take the red eye
Don't do
Tuesday.
that.
Well, I've
Nope.
done
No,
that.
not again.
Well, I mean, but I would have done take the
Mm-hmm.
red eye back,
Mm-hmm.
but it's not like I get back in order to cover drop off on Wednesday
Right.
because Megan has to work. And so it was something where it was not a feasible thing for the logistics of our lives with the way that Mondays and Wednesdays work with childcare and things like that because Megan has to be at school at 7:10.
Mm-hmm.
My mom, who takes either the twins or Levi on Monday and Wednesday, my mom and dad, they live 15 minutes in the wrong direction. So Megan would have to get all of the kids in the car and out the door by like 6:30 in the morning to drop
Mm-hmm.
them off at my mom's house at 6:45. And it's just, it doesn't mean that it's impossible, but the amount of like inconvenience that it would cause was just, that was not worth necessarily doing because there are conferences that I go to. Can you hear me okay?
Mm-hmm. You're a
Okay,
little quieter than you were.
yeah, I don't know what just happened. Is this better?
Mm-hmm.
Did I bump it? I don't know, maybe
You
I
must
bumped
have.
it. The there like if a week was that, did you hear that?
I certainly did.
What in the world? If it's a weekend conference, Thursday, Friday are a lot easier logistically because the
Yeah.
kids all go to daycare and the daycare is like on the way to school and it's all within a mile. And so it's not convenient to do it that way, but it's not like I'm upending everybody's life to do it.
Right.
And so when I go do something like that, Megan has to cover for me, just like I cover for her when those things happen. And I get a hard time from people being like, just like, get your wife figured out. And I'm like, she can.
She's very capable.
She's very capable. But
But
I
do you
also
want to
like
put that on her?
but the cost is not worth it
Yeah.
for me. As much as I really, really want to do. And she told me, like, you can go. I got it. And I'm like, I know you have it, but it's not just you. It's my mom. It's my mother-in-law. And it's the kids. Because that means like getting them out the door at 6:30 means you have to wake them up at like 5:45, which means that the whole day is a dumpster fire.
Yeah.
And
5:45 and hope everything goes perfectly the first time and then we don't have any issues with socks.
And it's just not worth the struggle for me, for her to do that. But there are people who are like, why, like, why is this such a, like, why can't you whatever? And I'm like, guys, like, it's because of what we choose to do.
Mm-hmm.
It's what we choose to do, which is like, for the sake of my wife and kids, I'm going to not make this decision.
Mm-hmm.
And I have left I don't know how much, but plenty of money on the table, certainly relationships, and also just fun things that I would like to do. The flip side of that is I also still do things that I really do want to do.
Mm-hmm.
Like things that are really, I went to 6 conferences in 18 months. It's not as if I haven't done this.
Mm-hmm.
I went to Mexico less than 2 months ago for 4 days. Like it's not as if I don't do these things, but we weigh these things because we're in it together.
Mm-hmm.
I don't get to do everything that I want to do, and she doesn't get to do everything that she wants to do. But we choose the things that matter.
Mm-hmm.
This sounds familiar, yes?
It sounds like when you're choosing to do date nights every other week instead of vacations. You choose the things that matter to you and your family.
That's why I drink margaritas and I eat pizza and I don't eat chips. It's not to say that chips are inherently bad or I wouldn't enjoy them. I would have very much enjoyed Las Vegas with these guys and had a great time, and it would have been valuable for me and my business and my career. It would have been a very good thing.
Mm-hmm.
We're not choosing between good and bad. We're choosing between good and better. And that's what adult decisions are.
Mm-hmm.
That's the difference between adult decisions and kid decisions. Adult decisions are between, it's like good and bad is not a hard decision. Children make those decisions. Adults have to make hard decisions.
Mm-hmm.
Because there's always going to be something that you're leaving on the table. So that was my take on it, was that like, hey, I think dads want to be more present so that that experience isn't as common for somebody like me, because I'm not the unicorn. Because there are people who are like, finally a man, and like, we must protect this man. I'm like, no, you actually missed the point. Anybody who commented that missed the point, because it's not about me. It's about the fact that, like, as men, we need to be more present in the lives of our kids because dads matter.
Mm-hmm.
And also, moms need more appreciation for the crap that they do. Because my wife, doing the exact same thing that I would do, would get, oh, look who has her hands full.
Mm-hmm.
That would be her experience. And it's thankless. And so no wonder they feel like, oh, taking time for myself is selfish. And feel burnt out and disappear into the personality of motherhood and don't even know who they are anymore.
Yep.
And that was, my heart broke for this woman on the call that I watched, because like she had, like when we asked the question, when you and I talk about like, what do you want? Like, what is the thing that you want? She had no idea. She couldn't even fathom a world where there was something for her.
Mm-hmm. Well, her entire life had been her family. She
has just disappeared into her kids. And it is noble to do that. However, they're getting a crappy version of her. Mm-hmm. And she owns it. And they know it. They know it.
Yeah,
because
kids are smart.
Kids are smart. They get it. And I've owned this from the jump. I am not in the neighborhood of the conversation of role model father. I'm not. I'm doing my best. That's what I can say. And it's my first time too, but I make every mistake. I say the things where I'm like, I never wanted to say that, but here I am saying that. Mm-hmm. And we all do it. I'm not saying that, but I am not saying this from my ivory tower, right? I have owned on this podcast the ways in which I have fallen short, and I continue to fall short. So I am not saying that focusing on your family is not a very valuable thing. But if you lose who you are to this, then they're not actually getting the best version of you.
Totally.
And so I'll say this as an example. Monday, normally my kids are gone on Monday. They're with my mom and my mother-in-law. And on Wednesday is normally my day with my oldest. It's his daddy day. We had to move around the schedules this week. I had my oldest on Monday. I was sick this weekend, and so were the kids, and so we were home. We didn't really do a lot, and it was like rainy, and it was like garbage weather.
Yeah.
So like Saturday, Sunday. So by the time Monday rolls around, we're sick of each other. Me and my oldest are sick of each other, and he's been copping all kinds of attitude because he's stir crazy and he wants to go do stuff. But because he's copping attitude and being a jerk, for lack of a better word, he loses privileges. So we then don't go get to do things that might get him out of his funk. And so then we're just like, and I get to the end of Monday, I'm like, this is the worst. I'm so frustrated with him. I'm like I don't want to do fun dad things. I just like go to bed, kid. Like I don't want to do this anymore. And I'm not a good version of myself at that point because I've been like just trying to not be sick and I don't feel good and we're tired of each other. Tuesday night, they were gone all day. I had a good day of work, got a workout in, went for a walk, got some sunshine.
So good for the soul.
Want to know what Tuesday night looked like? That was a great time. We wrestled. We did a dance party. It was lovely. I am a better dad when I am able to take care of myself and take time away from them to do it. And so disappearing, like being there, just being in the room is not the same thing as being present. Because I can be in the room and just like be a shell of myself and just waiting for bedtime for 3 hours. Or
we've all had those days.
Or there's times where my wife will look at me or I'll look at her and we're like, you're not doing well. And if I have the bandwidth, and we don't always do this, like we don't always have the bandwidth, but if it's like I have the bandwidth, I'll be like, go do something. Like go upstairs and take a nap or watch a show or go for a walk. And she'll look at me and she'll be like, go for a walk, like go for 20, 30 minutes, just listen to a podcast, something like that to like rejuvenate. And I'll be fine. And it's not to say that she's like, that's a fantastic half hour for her. That she's like, oh, this is the best thing that's ever happened. And like, this is a fantastic mom. Like sometimes it's that way, but sometimes it's just like, this was a dumpster fire, but I had the bandwidth and you didn't. And so go take it so that you can come back and be present. Be active in this with me. So that's my just general take on what the original post was about. Anything you feel like I left on the bone there? Any things that you were thinking about?
No, I remember loving it when I saw it, but also being a little sad when I saw it. So I'm like, yeah, this is, I mean, every woman has experienced the mom, you have your hands full kind of thing.
Yeah.
Recently, I've started like mentioning things to other parents that I see, dad, mom, caregiver, it doesn't matter. I'm just like, you're doing a really good job. Like when they're being little shiitakes out in public, which is embarrassing.
Yeah.
Like, you're doing a good job. Take a breath, you're doing a good job. But I don't need to call them a superhero.
Yeah.
Because that, like, it comes from such a loving place to say something like that, but I just don't perceive it as complimentary.
I think a lot of it is expectations. You know, it carries the load of expectations. If it's like you're a superhero. And I do it sometimes where I have to hype myself up. If I'm going to go 1-on-3 with the kids, I
can't even imagine.
Well, and for any length of time, certainly out in public, but like Megan will be like, will message. She's like, are you good? And I'm like, ultimate dad mode. Like, that's
Mm-hmm.
literally
Mm-hmm.
what I call it. I go into ultimate dad mode because I have to hype myself up for it, because
Mm-hmm.
otherwise I'm going to get buried.
Mm-hmm.
And so I have to be like, all right, I'm on, because I'm on. I have to be on. Like, I
Mm-hmm.
can't be passive with all three of them, because somebody's going to get injured or hurt or whatever,
Lost.
lost or
Left
whatever. Like,
behind.
I have to just be on.
Yeah.
And yeah, that it's like, when I take two of them in public and I'm like, this is a break. Like, this isn't, I'm like, oh my gosh.
Yes. So
If I take
easy.
one, I'm like, one kid is no kids,
One kid
basically.
is no kids.
One
Yes.
kid is no kids. Two kids is one kid. Three kids is all 100 kids.
Yeah.
And no kids is a vacation. Like, you want to know
Sure
why we don't
is.
go on vacation? All I need is 30 minutes with no kids.
Like, who
It's
needs a week in Aruba?
Just
30 minutes alone.
30
It's
minutes
insane.
with no kids during a time that I should have kids is
Mhm.
like,
Ah.
oh my goodness, it's as
Yeah.
replenishing as could be. So yeah, that was my take on the whole parenting bit. And I'm going to move from that, because again, that is not where my expertise is. That's just my
Mhm.
opinion and my
Mhm.
experience from both my own life, my wife, and also the fact that I've coached hundreds and talked to literally thousands of
Mhm.
parents, which is wild to think about.
It is. It's kind of cool though.
It is cool. It is cool. So now this is the experience of the post. And so I'll walk you through the journey of it. And then also kind of the things that I've learned from it that are potentially valuable for you.
Okay, ready.
So full disclosure, this is an odd experience, right?
Mhm.
So particularly as a guy who coaches other coaches who have the perception that like they want to go viral because they think that it's going to be whatever. And everybody's like, oh my gosh, how much has your life changed? I'm like, it has not. I have gotten
Not.
0 new clients. I don't anticipate getting new clients necessarily. It just is what it is.
Mhm.
And so this is a little bit of, you may not actually want the thing that you think that you want.
Mhm.
We've talked about this with the
Mhm.
Zac Efron body, right? Like,
Yeah.
in order to look like Zac Efron, I have to be able to do things that I'm not necessarily willing to do. And there's a cost to it that you may not be recognizing. So,
Mhm.
but I was going through, this was actually the start of a season. I had like a 2-week content plan. I planned my content ahead of time. I had 2 weeks where I was going to, I'm going to give you a little lesson on social media right now for
Ready.
everybody here. And again, I have intentionally said for a long time that I like my smaller following.
Mhm.
I said it for a really long time. I was proud of the fact that I grew a business with less than 2,000 followers.
Mhm.
I liked the community that I had built. I liked the way that I did it. And I didn't want to go viral. And I said that for a long time. There are, however, 3 different kind of buckets that content falls under in terms of its purpose.
Okay.
So when you post content, it has, if you do this well, it has 3 buckets. One of them is it's viral, value, and depth, right? Kind of these correspond to the know, like, and trust factors,
Mhm.
right? If you've heard of that when it comes to business, but viral, value, and depth. So viral is not necessarily like with the idea, like how we traditionally think of viral, but it's to get more eyeballs on you. And so bring new people into your sphere, whatever it is. And so it's, how do people come to know who you are?
Mhm.
And these are posts that are easily digestible, that are oftentimes shareable or relatable or something like that. Value is where I establish authority and that people trust that I know what I'm talking about. So this is where I tell people things about nutrition. This podcast would predominantly be a value type of content where I'm going into, like, I'm delivering value regards to the topics that I'm talking about. And you trust, if you're listening to this podcast, that I know what I'm talking about. It's about the specific things I'm doing. And then depth is, we also touch on this in this podcast, but it's like, this is not a viral thing. Like, I don't get organic views on this podcast ever.
Mhm.
Right? Depth is where they get to know me as a person.
Mm-hmm.
This is the like factor. Get to know me as a person, understand who I am and what I do and all of that sort of thing. And content can obviously overlap, like I talked about with this podcast. It's predominantly value with a little bit of depth, right? I had the goal for 2 weeks where I was going to put out content that was viral in nature,
Okay.
meaning it was going to be shareable, it was going to be easily digestible, it was going to be lighthearted, it might be funny, and it
Mm-hmm.
was going to be sort of maybe fitness, but also parent content. Like it
Mm-hmm.
was like, so that one was one of them, but it was just going to be stuff that was relatable to potentially get some new followers. That was the goal. I was going to bring in maybe a few new followers and then go into a value or a nurturing process and then a depth process where they get to know who I am and how I help. Right. That was the idea. That was the process that I
Mm-hmm.
planned on to go from April into mid-May. Like it was going
Okay.
to be 2 weeks, 2 weeks, 2 weeks. I was going to 2 weeks of viral, 2 weeks of value, 2 weeks of depth, basically. That was the plan. So obviously it worked
Mm-hmm.
more so than, you know what I mean? So like I can't, it's a champagne problem. You can't complain that the thing that I planned on doing worked better than I ever planned on it
Right.
going. But my expectation was if I got one of those posts that I planned for 2 weeks, if one of them did more than 50,000 views, I would have been fairly pleased. If I got 20 to 50 new followers, I would have been fairly pleased. Like I was
Mm-hmm.
at like 1950 for followers prior to this. I was like, if I get over 2,000, I'll be bullish. I'll be pumped. You know what I mean? And with that again, that was the goal.
Mm-hmm.
So again, I can't complain that the thing went the way it did. And again, when I posted it, it got a lot of the initial responses that I expected it to. It got some shares, it got some comments from my followers, and people were like, yeah, this is great, love it. And then it just started to kind of go a little hog wild over the weekend. And then it continued to progress and progress and progress. And ordinarily, and so this is kind of first lesson is thing like you can't be surprised the things if things work, you know what I mean? Like the byproduct of what you end up getting a little bit. So
Okay.
if I have the idea of like, you have to be willing to accept all possible outcomes
Mm-hmm.
that come from something. So if I'm going to pursue weight loss and fitness journey and things like that, like you have to be willing to accept the possibility that becomes your entire personality. Like there's a world in which that is true. Like there is an alternate universe in which this is a possibility.
Mm-hmm.
So we want to think those things through. The other thing is like you want to make sure that you're prepared for that possibility. And so like it would have been like I felt fine in terms of my preparation and my ability to handle 3,000 new followers. Like
Mm-hmm.
I feel fine about it, but I can't do it the way that I always do social media. So that's the other thing is like there's a cost to everything. And so like if I get it going normally, if somebody follows me, I send them a message. Within 24 hours, I send them a message. I'm like, hey, thanks for following. I'd love to hear how you got to be here.
Mm-hmm.
I can't do that to 2,500 people.
No, you cannot.
I can't do. I tried over the weekend and Monday night. I was literally messaging everybody, and this got stressful for me because I was trying to do all of the things that I would normally do,
Mm-hmm.
and I felt like I couldn't do it. And so this was the kind of that piece of it is like I want to do all the things that I normally and I can't. And so again, you have to be willing to give things up.
Yep.
You have to be willing to give things up. Like I can't do everything I want to do. The mom who's running her kids everywhere and also wants to be like you can't do everything. So you
Mm-hmm.
have to pick the things that like you have to
Truly
be okay
matter.
with certain things.
Mm-hmm.
I normally respond to every single comment, and I was for a bit. And then like if you look back, you could find the period of time where I literally responded to 200 comments
Man,
or
it's
something like
impressive.
that. And then I was like, I just can't, because I would wake up in the morning and I'd have 500 new comments. And I'm like, it's my whole day. It's my
Mhm.
whole day. I have other things to do.
Mhm.
So that's the other piece of it is like, I tried to play catch up for a couple of days. And then finally I was like, I'm going to take care of my clients and I'm going to post on social media. I'm going to take care of my coaches. I'm going to, write some programs. I'm going to do a workout. Like I need to do these things because otherwise the things that got me here aren't going to happen.
Mhm.
I normally message every single person who shares the post, at least publicly, to say thank you.
Mhm.
If you are curious, the total number of shares on this post at this point, 79.1 thousand.
I don't think you can respond to all of those people.
No, and obviously not all of those are public,
Mhm.
but like I will open my phone at any given time and there will be another 20. It's still going. 2 weeks later, it is still going. It's slowed down, but it's
Mhm.
still going. And I'll have 17 new shares, 20 new shares. And I'm like, okay, I can't. I'm moving on.
You
I'm
have
moving
to.
because I'm no longer doing. And so the other piece of it is, and so this is like a genuine, I don't know if it's a fear feels too strong of a word. I am concerned about what is going to happen with the community that I have built
Okay.
because there's a
Will it
world in
become
social,
diluted?
it becomes diluted
Yeah.
by a bunch of people who are here for not necessarily what I do.
Mhm.
They're here for something adjacent to what I do, but not necessarily what I do. And so I'm happy that because I will never be seen by more people than I will by this.
Mhm.
I will likely never have a post that gets this much traction again, ever. And people might be like, no, I likely never get a post that gets 4 million 5 million across platforms,
Yeah.
people to see it. 5 million people?
That's nuts.
Like, just bonkers.
Mhm.
I will likely never get that in a full career. And so it's more than I've done. So the other piece of it is I did 840 posts on social media prior to this one. I averaged 5 posts a week or more for 3.5 years.
That's so impressive. That's so hard to do.
I've reduced it recently, but I had done that for so many years. And the previous high in terms of views was like 100,000.
Mhm.
I had 2 posts ever get more than 50,000 views. Ever. The vast majority of my posts got 1,000 or less.
Mhm.
The vast majority. If you look back, when I did the Advent thing,
Mhm.
the average views on that Advent thing that I posted every single day for 24 days was like 400. And I kept on showing up
Mhm.
because and we've talked about this with working out. For every day that's a 3 or a 2, there's a day that's a 10, but the vast majority of them are going to be a 6 or a 7.
Mhm.
And you got to just show up for the 6 or 7s. You got to navigate the 1s and 2s. And every now and then you'll get one that hits.
Mhm.
But I'm happy that at least the thing that most people will know about me or see about me, I at least believe in.
Mhm.
So stay true to who you are. The things that matter to you, whatever they are. So if I
You
trying
okay?
to articulate this without getting frustrated
Okay.
with the world and / emotional. I can't come on the internet and say any of the things that I say and then spend 6 days a week for 2 hours in the gym.
Mhm.
I can't do it because it doesn't align with who I am. If I wanted to be a bodybuilder, If that was my goal, if that was the thing that I believed in and was important to me, then I could do that. I can't do that. The things don't align.
Mm-hmm.
You can't say that you want or believe or feel something and then have your life not align with it.
Mm-hmm.
Your actions determine what you believe. Like, I know what you believe by what you do.
Mm-hmm.
I don't care what you say to me. You can say anything you want. My kids know this. If I tell my kids I love them and then I yell at them, which part do you think they believe?
Yeah.
And that's heartbreaking for me because sometimes I do lose my cool. It's important that our actions come back to the things that matter to us and anchor us, and that we stand on the things that we believe in. And we are constantly working to get better because perfection is impossible.
Mm-hmm.
We will fail. But what are we striving for? And will we get back up and try again? And so the thing that the most amount of people that I will ever reach saw from me is something that I believe in. And so I'm happy about that.
Mm-hmm.
So when you're making decisions about your fitness and nutrition, it should be in alignment with the things that matter to you.
Mm-hmm.
There's a reason why my logo is half a pizza.
It's a great logo.
Because if I can't have pizza with my kids, that's not in alignment with who I want to be. If I wanted to look like Zac Efron from Baywatch, I wouldn't be able to do that.
Mm-hmm.
And so some things has to give. It has to give. But in order, once I get the thing that I think that I want, right? Again, like if I wanted to look like Zac Efron from Baywatch, I would have to do the things that he is doing. And I'm not necessarily willing to do those things. You might think that you want to go viral. If you're on social media, you're like, oh, I want to go viral. You may not be able to do the things that you want to do.
Yep.
The stakes are higher. Like, I don't know. I literally messaged a couple of friends of mine in the industry who have large followings and who have every video they do goes nuts like this. I'm like, I don't know how you live your life like this, where you're just inundated with comments and people calling you out and on the internet, like random people. Like, so that was another lesson: is no matter what you do, somebody's always going to try to tear you down, and that's about them, and it's not about you.
Exactly. Someone's gonna have something to say about everything.
If
And
you go,
they feel like they can say it from behind the screen because it's not a conversation.
well, and again, if you go look in the comments, you will find plenty of people who are like, one guy, things that never happened for $300. He's still in my comments. This dude made this comment 13 days ago, 12 days ago. And I replied to him very lightheartedly.
Mm-hmm.
He was like, things that didn't happen for $300. And I was like, you're right. You caught me. I'm out here just lying on the internet in front
These
of
are
my
kids I borrowed.
Like, yeah, that's exactly what happened. And he's in there, like, because now new people will come in and they'll go into the comments and they'll, like, argue with him. And he'll, like, argue back with them. And I'm like, dude, like, what a sad life that you live.
Exactly.
Like, I feel badly for you.
Oh,
This is
God.
how you're spending your time. Like, I gave him one kind of lighthearted thing. And then just people will do. I gave another dude who is, like, I think his thing is like Lord of the Vikings or something like that. And you look at his profile picture, he's got like a huge beard and looks like a mammoth human being. And I gave him like a complimentary thing. He's like, I've never had this happen to me, and I take my kids out in public all the time. And I was like, dude, because that's because you're huge
Yeah.
and have an awesome beard, and I'm 5'10" in like Disney movies. Like people may not want to talk to you because they're intimidated. And I meant that as a compliment. Like, dude,
Yeah.
you're like, and
You
I
look like
said you
a
have an awesome
Norse
beard.
god.
And I had people in the comments in that being like, wow, way to like judge a person by their, I'm like, what are we doing, guys? Like, I was trying to be lighthearted to a guy who called me a liar. Can we just, you know what I mean? And so this is the thing. Like, people will lose weight and people will say, oh, they, you know, whatever. They'll blame something. They'll be like, oh,
Mm.
I would do that too if I XYZ. If I had a home gym, or if I didn't have a job,
Personal chef.
or
Yeah.
if I didn't have kids, or if, I mean, they'll blame celebrities all the time, but like even just other people, like, oh, I would do that too if I didn't have kids, or if my
Mm.
kids were older, or if I had a job, or my kids went to daycare, or if I was a stay-at-home mom, I would do that, or if I had a home gym, I would do that, or if I, you know, any things, they'll use an excuse, or oh, they probably use medication, they used Ozempic, they didn't do it, or their genetics are better, or mine are whatever it is. And it's just like, that's about them.
Yeah.
It's
It's
not about
easier to
you.
make an excuse.
Then
It's
to
much
face the
easier.
reality
Yep.
that maybe, just maybe, the problem's with the person in the mirror.
Mm.
But you're always going to get it. You're always going to get it. And the bigger your success, the more people will hate you. Look
Mm-hmm.
at, you know, any big celebrity that you can think of. You know, first one that came to my mind is Taylor Swift. I don't know why.
Tom Felton.
Tom Felton. I don't think that that's a big celebrity. I mean, I like Tom Felton, but he's
He's the
LeBron
person that came
James.
to mind.
LeBron James is another great example because people will, like, there are people who have a large microphone who will tear him apart. Tear him apart. And it's like,
It's LeBron.
it's LeBron James. Like, I don't care if he's like, if you think that Michael Jordan is better than LeBron James, that's fine. But you
Sure.
can also say LeBron James is great.
Yeah, he's
You don't
better
have to. You
better
don't
at
have
basketball
to
than I am.
You don't have to tear him down. He's the first, second, or third greatest basketball player in the history of the world. Can we not talk about him like he's terrible? Taylor Swift is one of the most iconic musical artists of all time, and we're seeing something, whether you like her music or you like her or not, like, you don't have to tear her down just because she's successful, just because she's good and you stink.
Yeah.
And you don't have what she has. Like, it doesn't, like, and you're unhappy with your own life. It's an infuriating thing that people will do. And then this is the final kind of, maybe not the final, but one of the last pieces of it, which is this. As you can probably imagine, especially with my role in helping coaches, what has been the question that I've gotten in the last 2 weeks from everybody?
How has your business increased?
Even simpler than that. How do I go viral?
Oh, yeah.
And I say, first of all, you don't want to.
Mm-mm.
Second of all, you want to know how this happened? People think that it is complicated.
Mm-hmm.
It's not complicated. It's just doing things over and over and over and over again, and eventually one hits. But you stay true to who you are, and there's not a magic formula. But what happened on this thing was this post. I have spent hours at time on posts that have flopped.
Mm-hmm.
From concept to recording to edit to post, this whole thing took me 2 minutes. And it sat in my photos on my phone for 5 weeks. I recorded it the day before I went to Mexico. And I posted it 2 weeks ago. As we record this, it's April 18th. So I posted it early April. I recorded it late February. But I walked to my car with the kids, and the fifth person of the day made a comment as I was walking from the bank to the car. I got in the car and I was just like, this is ridiculous. I hit record. It was one take, no cuts,
Mm-hmm.
true to who I am, stood on business. And then I didn't edit it at all. I cut out the beginning with the millennial pause where I like hit record and then sat back, and I cut off the very end when I went to hit. But that was it, and I put captions on it. The caption or the caption on the post took me 10 seconds to write. And I posted it on a Friday at like 4:30, and I closed my phone for the day. I did nothing right by
You really didn't.
by the standards of what you should do. I didn't script it. It wasn't planned. I didn't do any fancy editing. I didn't do a well thought out caption. I didn't have a call to action on the post. I didn't tell people to follow me or to share it or to like it or to comment. I just posted it, and I didn't stay on social media to engage with other people and do all of the things that you quote unquote should do.
Mm-hmm.
Why did it go viral? Because it was who I am.
Yep.
It was authentic. I stood on business. And also, if you look at the posts prior to that, those posts were also true to who I am. You want to know what I posted the subsequent days? Posts that were true to who I am. And if you go look, actually, if you look at my social media and you go back and you find that post, you look forward 4 or 5 posts to what I did on Tuesday of this week. It is one of the ones that has the least views. It has like 1,000 views on it. And you want to know why that one didn't do well? And I knew it the moment I posted it.
You strayed.
I didn't really care all that much about what I posted about that day. And people know it.
Mm-hmm.
They know it. Now, does that mean that I ruined it?
No.
That I squandered my social media opportunity with all of these? No. Doesn't mean bubkas. Because you know what I did? I showed up the next day. And again the next day. And I'll show up again today. And I'll show up again on Monday.
This weird theme of consistency with you.
Yeah. Because here's the thing. We've talked about this in every context possible.
Mm-hmm.
You're a product of what you do most often.
Mm-hmm.
Because I grew my following. When I started posting regularly, I had like 200 followers, 195. It took me 3 years to go from 195 followers to 10x that 1950. I will have grown 3x in 2 weeks.
Mm-hmm.
But people won't see the fact that I did 3.5 years of consistent posting. And you want to know what? This is the final thing that I will say. I'm almost more proud. And no, I'm not almost. I am more proud of the followers that I got from 195 to 500. Because I did it when there was nobody was there.
Yeah.
And I still showed up. This is working out when you're not seeing any results.
Yep.
This is trusting the process. The final thing that I'll say is this. Simon Sinek, who I think I've talked about on this podcast before, said somewhat recently that we all have friends that we would call when something is not going well, when things are hard, that will be there for us. We all have those people. He argued, and I think that he's right if we think about it, that we probably all have fewer people that we would call when we got an award to say this really cool thing just happened to me. Mm-hmm. That would celebrate for us, and they wouldn't think that we're being like arrogant or rubbing it in their face. Mm-hmm. So the reason why I've been hesitant to talk about this is because it feels a little bit like that.
Yeah.
Like, look at me.
Yeah.
But I've tried to make this valuable for the people that are there. I've tried to be outward focused, because the biggest thing that has been I've noticed with this is the vast majority, and why I was concerned about, hey, is my audience going to get diluted and whatever it is. I'm less concerned about that because the people who've been here, those people who are 196 to 500 and 500 to 1,000, people who've been here for years, those are the people who've come out and gone out of their way to congratulate me and to cheer for me in this. And there was part of me that was nervous how they would feel. But the fact that that group of people has been like, I'm so happy that this has happened for you. And I'm still here and I'm excited for more people to see what you have to say, has been an indicator for me and a reminder that I have done things that have aligned with who I am to this point. It's a little bit like when my kids have a really genuinely thoughtful and kind moment. Like when my daughter is really upset and my oldest son brings her favorite doll.
Mm.
He's like, "Here, sissy, like maybe this will make you feel better." Because in those hard moments where I'm like, I don't even know if this is ever connecting for him. Like I don't know if anything's working. Something's going right.
Mm-hmm.
So I would encourage you, and this is kind of the final lesson here. You need people in your corner who can cheer for you. Because celebrating wins and feeling bad about them or feeling like you can't is going to make your journey a lot harder.
Mm-hmm.
Because I'm going to be honest with you, there were times during these last couple of weeks where I was like, I'm just not going to post. I've thought about like shutting down the account. I was like, this is overwhelming. I'm done. But the people who are here cheering, I'm like, okay, I'm going to show up. I'm going to show up because when this feels overwhelming or it feels like it's too much, whatever it is, you have people who will cheer for you. Because stacking positive is a lot more beneficial than avoiding negative.
Mm-hmm.
This is still, not fully formed. This was definitely Jeff's brain dump, but maybe there was something valuable there for you. I will most likely be done talking about this from
Okay.
here on. I've done all my things that I need to do about it. And, but if you have any questions or anything like that, I would love to talk to you. And if maybe this is your first time listening, appreciate you being here. Like, rate, subscribe, all the things that you
All
do
the
with
things.
podcasts. And we'll see you next time.